We'd just like to welcome you today to our first kind of regional meeting in regard to the workforce stabilization grants that, Leading Age Michigan was fortunate enough to have funded. While I will hopefully have, between John and I and Dave Game and Dalton, hopefully have all the answers you will ask or need answered. We'll have all the answers that you'll ask the questions for. But I just wanted to let you know, we are kind of, putting this together on the fly. We had 10 days to get an application submitted, as you well know, and it was at the tail end of the annual conference. So I think we all got together in a room, read the criteria, and put this thing together in about 3 days. So the concepts were there. We had certainly the national player who was in the room who gave us that ability to go through the scoring. If you recall, the scoring for these applications included a national presence, leadership and staff putting a program together, some relation to regionality and the number of counties that you could touch, and then as well, did you work with labor in regards to putting something together like this? And so, we worked real hard to get all that criteria met, contacted all of the partners that we knew about, and then put the grant in and submitted it. And I believe, according to the department, we were the highest scoring grant that they received. So we had a very good grant, and they were very excited to put some money behind it. So we're really thrilled to talk about that for you today. What I'd like to do is just give you a quick high-level overview of what the process is going to look like and how it will unfold. This is a very fluid process. Even up until last week, the department let us know that with federal funds, there's always a structure and a timing of when you have to utilize those funds. And so, our original submission was that we would do this program over a 3-year period, and that got condensed down into about 19 months. So it was that was quite a shock. We kind of had to reshuffle the cards a little bit about how we were going to do this. And then about a week ago, they asked if you wanted to get some development funding submitted even in this fiscal year. They needed a decision by the close of business on the same day. So just to let you know, this thing's moving quick, and it's very complicated. If anyone's had a CMP grant, we're going to be using eGrams, which is not known to be very intuitive, but we'll work our way through it. It's going to be a great program. We're really excited about it. So let me tell you about kind of the high level schemes of what we want to do with this. The genesis of this thought came from some meetings we had hearing about We Care Connect and how in real time management and organizations can use these tools to best meet the needs of their staff. And John will go into detail about a lot more about his program, but we really heard really wonderful things about this, and it was just in a different context that we had heard about it. And then when we read the grants, it was, why aren't we trying to do something like this for the membership? And that's what got us going down this road. So what we are proposing is that we're going to survey all new employees at a much more rapid pace for the first 6 months. And then over the period of the grant, we're going to do all of your employees 3 times. And in that process, we're hoping to, of course, increase retention, recruitment, and learn more about what the direct care workforce likes, doesn't like, and just really get a better feel for how we can interact with them in a more meaningful way. At the end of this process, we're going to actually complete a report and submit that to the department and to other stakeholders around Lansing who are all looking at direct care workforce issues. But we want to make sure that we're being a good steward of the money and also sharing our findings and our information with those folks. So we're really excited about that. We're also working with a communications team right now to put together some communication tools for us. We want to get, a logo for our program and some press releases, and then also work with them on a go forward about communicating to members and hopefully to other direct care workforce folks about what the not-for-profit provider community is actually doing in this regard, to hopefully capture some of those folks and hopefully capture their interest in wanting to work in a not-for-profit organization. And then share best practices. We definitely want to try to do that too. So we're hoping from this group, organizations that figure something out that might have a best practice, that we're going to be able to share that across the group, and hopefully, all boats will rise from these learnings, and we're really thrilled about that. So it's very exciting. Oh, and I forgot one thing. We also have reached out to legal counsel, and federal money, these grants, we know the significance of them. This is no small amount of money. So we've asked legal counsel to do a literature search to see what's out there in terms of where are cautionary tales that we should be careful of and what structure we should be using around the prudent use of these resources. So, we're really trying to touch all the bases, get our ducks in a row up front, and make sure that whatever we do is just very forthcoming and, again, we'd be prudent stewards of the state's and federal government's resources. So that's a quick high-level overview of the grant. I'll let John talk to you about it in more detail, and then I think he's going to ask Dave to come up and talk a little bit further about how these reports are best utilized. So, John, come on up. Thank you.
Dawn's coming around. If I could have a person from each organization, you just need one of these, so just have somebody from your organization grab one, and I'll get to that piece of paper in a minute. Yeah, we're really excited about this opportunity. As you can imagine, with our clients all across the country, we get all kinds of great feedback and case studies and collaborations they're doing in their organization, but we don't really have a lot of time to bring multiple organizations together and share all that. So that's going to make this grant really powerful. We want to have this be real time and getting all this great feedback in everybody's hands. And if you have not been, if you're here and you weren't formally invited to be part of the grant or something, anybody by show of hands, does that fit anybody in the room right now? Was everybody invited to be in the grant? Okay, great. So I talked a little bit about this in my keynote the other day, but I just wanted to review our solution again, just real quickly, so everybody's on the same page here of how this works and what you can expect. The benefit here is really impactful to you folks because you're not even having to pay for it. The grant's covering it. But our mission is really to reduce employee turnover and save you money. And so you're going to get those benefits out of this grant as just a baseline. But like I said, it's the collaboration that we really feel is going to provide that value. So once again, you can kind of see by the graphic here, all you have to do is upload your new employee. And you can do that manually. It takes about 10 seconds to upload an employee, or we can work with you on what we call synchronizing, which was we just pull it out of your HRIS every night, and then you don't even have to worry about it. So either way is fine with us. They're both very easy to do. Once you put that person into our system, they are going to be emailed, texted, and if they choose to use a mobile app, they can do that as well. And they're going to have a week to complete the survey. They'll get reminders. If they haven't completed it, then our team will call them, and so we'll do the survey over the phone with them. A lot of times that phone call that just reminds them to go and do it online. It's totally up to them however method they want to do it. If we don't reach them via phone, we leave them a security code. They can call us back anytime they want and do the survey when it's convenient for them. So we typically have very high completion rates in the 80% plus, but as part of this grant for sure, we really encourage you to be promoting this with your staff, telling them why you're doing this, and really encouraging full participation from the survey folks. Hopefully I'm not speaking, is the $100 still part of this?
Yes.
Okay, so a great thing about this, even better than normal, is the part of this grant, we're giving $100 to each person that completes the survey every time they complete the survey. So that should be high motivation for your staff to be active in here and giving us this great feedback. As they're completing those surveys, as I mentioned in my presentation, we're getting real-time feedback, and we're passing that directly back to you. So we call these triggers and notifications. So some of the questions are going to be, like, do you feel well trained? If somebody says no to that, you want to know about that right away, not 3 months from now in some report. So you can set up who will get that email in your organization, and you will be able to interact with that person, help that person out, and then remember, you'll be able to record the solution or how you resolve that right inside the system too. So it'll be great for reporting. So you're going to get the macro analysis that the grant is going to provide, but you're also going to get that individual feedback. And then you're going to tap into those dashboards, and we'll take another quick look at those today, but we talked about those in the other session as well. But you're going to have access to the full suite of those dashboards, not just the scope of the grant. So just so you realize here the timing of it, hopefully you can see that, but basically the new employees are going to be done at 2 weeks, 45 days, 75 days, and 6 months. So they're going to get 4 surveys. Some of them are the same questions, others are different depending on where they're at in that new hire orientation. And remember, very heavily looking at how we reduce 90-day turnover there. And then all employees, our typical solution is semi-annual based on their hire date. So you're not getting a snapshot all at one time, it's spread throughout the year. For purposes of the grant though, we are going to be doing 3 what we call snapshots at different intervals where they will go out and grab all those employees. So you'll be getting the new employee data as we go along, and then you'll have a snapshot of all the existing employees as well. And then if they are resigned or terminated, they will get a survey at that point, and that data will be coming in as we looked at kind of those turnover statistics in the dashboards. That's where that information is coming from. So lots of different opportunities to connect with them and get that feedback. I mentioned that how they work. They go out to the self-service, as we call it. After 7 days, they go to the phone. Depending on how, hopefully with the $100 incentive there, you won't need to do too much of this, but especially for purposes of this grant, you will go, our team will show you how to do this, but you can go in and find out who didn't take the survey and get their security code and hand that to them and encourage them to do that. Jump into that vacant office there, jump on the phone and do the survey. And so or you can resend the email with their code and things like that. So lots of ways to make sure everybody's doing this. Once again, the dashboards that you'll have access to, the intent here is to have some formal group collaboration, some meetings, virtual and in person, to really get together. You rely on this data. You will be able to see your own data. As a group, we will be able to roll it all together, smash it together, and see how we as an individual grant participant group is doing as well. So once again, real excited to take a look at that, and ultimately over these 18 months, see what kind of changes we can have, what impact can we have in the participating organizations. So things such as your overall workforce health you're going to see, which are more satisfaction, advocate, NPS scores, ESI scores, all that stuff you'll be able to go into. You'll be able to see peer data sets from the whole country, and we're working on, I think we'll be able to pull it off, but we're trying to make it so that you'll be able to see peer data sets even within the grant participants. So that'll help us see the trend lines of how effective we are at this as well. But this is also going to help give you knowledge of how well equipped your staff is, how well informed your staff is, what the longevity of your overall workforce is. So we use some predictive tools to help figure that out and give you that data. And then turnover, remember down the left-hand side there, you're going to have access to all those screens, so I'm just highlighting a few of them. But you're able to go in here and look by your departments, by your sites, by different locations, shifts. Some people asked about other record fields yesterday. Keep in mind, any way you want to slice and dice this, just let us know. So I think somebody said yesterday, or Wednesday, I'm sorry, about wanting to know the hall or the floor. Absolutely, add that into the data you send us, and that will all be integrated right in these dashboards, and you can look any way you'd like to get that data. And we can do that real time, so just let us know anytime you want. If you want to modify something, we're able to do that. That's another thing about the grant participation group. We've committed to customizing it where we see fit. So if the group wants to add a couple questions in to get us at a matter that you feel is important that we maybe not touch on, we'll happily add those questions in and make sure that it gets put into these dashboards too. So any feedback throughout this whole process, no dumb questions, no dumb recommendations. I mean, we're here to get this feedback and impact that change. One thing is, and I'll get to this in a minute as well, but we encourage you to take a look at our full suite of tools. The grant is covering the SNF employees. So we absolutely can add all your employees in. We would really like to have you participate that way, and you'll see in a minute we're going to make that as easy as possible, as well as other categories of our surveys. So we're focused on employee surveys, but we also do other categories that I'll review in a minute too. So if you're considering that, here's our pricing. So for the employee surveys that we're talking about, what the grant is covering basically for your SNF employees, each new employee is just $32. So you hire somebody, you load them in our system. That $32 covers all those surveys we were talking about, the 2-week, 45 days, 75 days, 6 month, all those methods, self-service, phone, all that's just included one set fee there. All employees, the existing ones are $8, and then the exit surveys are $8 as well. So usually this comes out to about $250 per site. So very minimal investment to get that powerful data back. You save one person from turning over, and it pays for itself multiple times over. So pretty powerful system and solution. Really encourage you to, and if you want to try this out, just get a hold of us, and we're happy to do that as well. There is typically a setup and training fee. You see that there, anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000. And then here is our set of solutions for different surveys, different categories. So home health, resident, private duty, certified home health, pretty much anything that you do in your organizations, we either have standard surveys for, or we're happy to create custom ones. And all of our surveys still come with those tools and those dashboards to be able to interpret the data. So real powerful stuff there. Okay, so couple things. Let me make sure I'm getting my notes right on this one. So if you or your organizations are interested in doing other parts of our survey, what we're going to do is, first of all, there will be no additional setup fees. Typically, you pay that for each survey category. We're going to completely waive that, and so you can jump in with minimal effort there. We also have a $99 a month subscription fee per category. Grant participants, we're waiving that as well. And then also, if you do choose to do a snapshot, because that is going to kind of the non-SNF employees, if you want a snapshot, that's going to give you a set of data right up front and a baseline that's going to fill your dashboards. Typically, as you saw though, those are $8 per survey. We're offering those for $3. If you decide to do that, we do need you to commit to that at the time we deploy you, so that we don't have to go do this again and again. So we won't charge you for it. We just need you to decide if that's something you'd like to do when we get you set up initially. You can always add it on later, and we can work something out there too, but it'll be absolutely no charge for you in that regard. And then if you would like to survey your other employees outside of SNFs, we're also giving you 2 free months of doing that. Once again, we just ask you to make that decision when we deploy you, so we can do it all at one time. So not required, but strongly encouraged. I think you're going to love the data you get, and the grant's already covering such a big chunk of it. Would really encourage you to add the rest of the employees in, and seriously consider the resident side too. You remember me talking in my session the other day that there is a direct correlation to the more satisfied your staff are, the more satisfied your residents there. We showed that data, so it's something to really kind of think about getting that additional feedback as well. Okay, basically how we tried to keep this really simple to let people jump in and get going with this. And so you were handed out this participant information form. This is really all we need from your organization. If you can fill this out today, excellent. Let me have it before I take off, and we can go ahead and get you in the system and go ahead and get set up. Hopefully it's pretty self-explanatory. We need your organization info and the SNF specific employees and numbers as you see on there. Your HRS vendor, that helps us if you want to be able to give us that data directly from your HRS system. system. Very helpful for us to know which one you use. And then the next line there is, would you also like to connect to all your non-SNF employees? Just circle yes or no on there. That just depends how we set you up. It's a little different. Your SNF locations, make sure you make this the name that is inside whatever system you use, whatever HRS you have, where you dictate where that employee works at. Make sure that matches. So if the public might hear it as know it as something else, it's really whatever you use internally is what we need on there. And then just the count information at the bottom, basically the contacts, so we know who to get a hold of. Okay, so that's all you need to give us. And once you give us this, we will then reach out and set up what we call an onboarding meeting, really brief, 30 minutes max. Make sure the CEO is there and the primary contact is going to kind of be leading this. And we're just going to go through a little bit more details of how you start adding your individuals. Talk to you a little bit about expanding this out if you want to do that. But the good part is our team has really developed some really short videos. They're all less than 4 minutes. You'll get a welcome email once you turn this in from Leading Agent ourselves. It'll have those videos listed out there. Watch those and you'll be able to start putting individuals in, and the surveys will start immediately after that. Yep.
If we're already using it, do you need anything from us?
No right now, and I will get back to you if we do. So no, I think, and basically the folks that are already using us for pieces or the whole thing, you're going to end up seeing a credit on your bill for this portion of what the grant is covering. So it'll still show up there and just have that. And that will start, we're thinking that'll start September 1st. So that'll kind of be the official kickoff. And so September, this will be credited on your bill for anybody with the SNF employees. And then we have to kind of figure out, as Dave mentioned, this is a little bit of moving parts here, but we have to also kind of qualify what is a SNF employee. Is it people related in corporate that work with them? Is it just people that are physically working in that building? So we will get some information out to you on that, of how we're going to further define that. We're hoping the more the merrier, but we do have to have some rules there. And then basically the was hoping Dave Game could just speak a little bit. Kevin did a good job the other day too, but just, you know, what you can expect from some of this data, how you can expect to use it, maybe a couple ways Wellspring has, and some, in your opinion, best practices with it, things of that nature.
Afternoon, everybody. So, yeah, this is very powerful data. But the thing is, you got to use it. That's the key in it. And I'm saying that like, right, duh. But the reality is, you know, at least in our organization, when you introduce something new, right, you got to really build the structure and the discipline to embed it into sort of the ethos of the organization. And we've done that well in some parts of our organization. We're still working on it in others. But this data is very powerful. And so, you know, I think for us, you know, we've been able to take these dashboards and customize them so that pretty much every key level of the organization has their We Care Connect dashboard, including our board. So the board is looking at the data that they want to see and that they can deal with. The executive team, our administrative teams each have, and then all the way down to the supervisor level, right, where you can really drill it down. And that's where the rubber hits the road. Because if only your top folks are looking at this stuff, it's not going to do you any good. You've got to find a way to get it embedded down into the organization. I'm looking forward to sort of the cohort group coming together for this. Because, you know, we do some things that work, we do some things that haven't worked. We're all going to learn from each other. And I think that's going to be part of the power of this grant and this exercise we're getting into. Because, you know, when we first started this a long time ago, we were early adopter, and, you know, we were just sort of making it up as we went. John and his team have done a great job of creating best practices. I will tell you that one of the things we've had to dial in is making sure that new employees know that that first survey is coming. That's one we struggled with, because there's so much going on in the life of getting a new staff member on board, right? That first day, that whole process, you've got to get them ready, because when that first survey comes, if they don't know it's coming, your success rate of those completions goes way down. If they know, it's going to go up. And you got to get to that 80-85% that John's talking about in terms of completion rate in order to really have a data set that's strong. So be thinking about that right out of the gate. They've got some great resources for that and some good tips for that as well. So I would just say, as you get into this, pay attention to that first and foremost, because if people aren't taking it, then we're not going to have data. So looking forward to where we go with this. Yeah, Dave.
You mentioned the structure that you already use with your reports. I'm assuming that's a decision you need to, well, Spring, might you share that with the early adopters here? You know, what report goes to the board, what report goes to...
Yeah, so, so the executive team looks at a pretty comprehensive set of data from this. Our board gets a distilled version of that, particularly because we use multiple components of this. So we've got resident satisfaction, we've got staff, we've got quality, all of that. So we cobble that into a board level dashboard for them that sort of augments the other work that the board is doing, but it gives them a good snapshot of what we're working on and where we're making progress, and frankly, where we're not at times. So as you get it down into the organization, you're going to look more and more granular. So we want administrators who are actually looking at specific departments and specific supervisors. If we've got a problem in turnover in a particular area, you can really drill it down and isolate it and say, well, this building is having this problem, but is it the whole building or is it second shift under this supervisor? You can get there with this data. So the further into the org chart you get, the more granular you got to get, right? You don't want supervisor data going to the board, right? But you want administrators and DONs and whoever else might be in that chain looking at that stuff. So it sort of fits the level of the organization at that point. Does that help?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm happy to answer any questions in terms of how we use it, but I'm really excited about where we're going with this. I think we're going to learn a lot.
Yeah, remember how part of my session the other day, I mentioned that a client of ours that put all that energy and cost into fixing something that the data said wasn't even needing fixing. So I would encourage you to, before this kicks off officially, get with your supervisors and managers and ask them what they think is the number one reason that turnover is happening. And you're going to hear all kinds of things. It's going to be gut feelings. And then before the survey results come in, try to get their buy-in to say, okay, thanks for the feedback, but can we all agree to trust what the data tells us? Because I'm sure it's going to be different than we all think. Get that commitment up front. Because that's the biggest change we see in our new clients, as most of them are like, we had no idea half this stuff was going on. And so if you get all that data and you haven't set the table, now you're running around trying to convince people of it and how did we get this? And we've just seen it work a lot better if you do that step up front. And especially in this collaborative nature where you can share with them that it's not just us doing it, but we have a group of people in Michigan working together on this. I think it'd be a good step to get everybody's mind in the right direction on this. So any questions I can answer about the grant or, yep?
Yeah, about the grant, I know that there's always responsibility for reporting. And every time I'm part of a grant, there's a lot of work that has to happen on our end. Are we going to have to do the reporting, or can you please aggregate reports and submit reports?
I believe Leading Age is going to.
We're looking at handling it all. I don't know what the requirements will be from the state. They haven't published all of it yet. But our goal is, we put money into the grant for audit. We have some processes already that we're looking at very directly. And my understanding of it is it's largely going to be driven off of invoices. So that's something that's going to occur between us once we get the universe established properly. So at this point, I'm not sure it's going to fall in your lap at all.
Second question, as it relates to the $100, are you sending it directly to them, or are you looking at sending us a check based on return surveys and then we put it into their payroll?
Well, it would be option two. We're looking to send a check to you for you to hand to your employees.
individual checks or an aggregate check with a report? You'll have to get back to us on that.
No,
Yeah, just-
well, at this point, we talked about, John would invoice us with a list of every facility's staff that is eligible for that check. And then we could cut the check to you for that full amount, with, of course, a list of who gets to the $100.
Suggest talking to your payroll, HR, and your CFO on that one, for sure.
Well, that's exactly why I'm.
Yeah, I was gonna ask the same question if you texted me. Yeah, the taxes will be, like,
Taxes have to come out of
the
it.
taxes gotta come out of 1 and 2, the employees will be very angry, as they always are, because no good deed goes unpunished. The taxes have to come out of that.
Right. Yeah, we already have options for things like that.
Well, I mean, there's only so much you can do. I think that covers it.
But I keep in mind, remember, we're talking 4 surveys for every new employee. So a new employee has, right when they start with the organization, can get $400. I mean, that is, you know, it's,
great, it's great.
Yeah.
It's just, it's stakes of playing the game.
no, yeah, absolutely. But I think that's part of the excitement of the grant is that, you know, that's really a kind of a wind in the new employee's sails. So, yeah. No, very valid question, yeah.
And I will tell you that if we tell them that to expect a survey, and if they do it, they get $100 for each of the first 4, they'll remember.
Yeah, that survey awareness you were concerned about will go up, yes. There's no doubt about that.
And I have one more question.
Yeah.
$100 before taxes, so.
No. What I was, the other question that I had is, we had talked originally about a 3-year program.
Yep.
Is there a possibility of prepaying for the other year and a half so we can get that?
We've asked the department for a clarification on that. They haven't come back with the answer. Mike, the original answer on the call was no. Because all of the funds have to be expended by December 31, 2024.
Yeah, and I'm on another grant that is doing some employee retention for reimbursement for classes, for colleges. And
I'm aware of that, yeah.
right, and what they're saying is we can prepay them for the next 2 semesters.
Well, they're prepaying the university.
Yes, they are. Yes.
Right, and that's a little nuanced, but we will ask the question again.
And go, well, they get to do it.
Yeah, and we can mechanically make that work, it's just whether they're gonna allow it or not, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the difference is you do it per survey.
Yeah, but we could, if they gave us the opportunity to do that, we could just do a fixed price thing and say, we're gonna cover, you know, the next year of surveys for the grant participants and at a flat fee. I mean, we could make it work, because we too would rather have it be a longer period, but, you know, if it's 18 months, we'll make that work too,
And it takes a bit to change culture, so we really like that.
yeah.
And we already got started.
And I mean, honestly, we're also hoping that everybody sees value and wants to continue to use this after the grant is over. I mean, it's, you know, it should stand alone on itself, but the more of it we can cover for you, we're all for it.
So I know you mentioned there's a welcome packet that will come after we submit this form.
Yep.
In that welcome packet, will we see sort of a list of questions that we would?
You were not going to, but since you asked, I'll add that in. Yep, that's a good point. Yep, we'll show you which one's there. And by the way, that will be sent to the primary contact on this form, so just keep a heads up for that. Good idea. Yeah.
EDI, I know you talked about that with certain, or potentially all of the HRS systems. Is that for both adding new employees and also pulling them off the books as well, so it does all of that, so it's no touching? So,
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, we have we're agnostic when it comes to that, so there's basically a form of just a CSV file you send us every night, and we take it from there. You don't need to manipulate it or anything, you just dump it over to us and we'll handle it. And we recommend everybody do that, so you just don't have to have people remembering to do it manually every day, but either way is fine. Anything else? So as Dave mentioned, you know, a little bit of patience is appreciated because we're still trying to figure all the details out, but we're trying to get at this as quick as possible, get this launched up and running, and we're all excited to get it kicked off. Show of hands, can some folks submit this today and have this out of the way, or do you need to take it back to the organization? 1, 2, 3, 4, Okay. And for those of you that cannot get in today, like I said, get it filled out. Grab a card for me so you can get the information of where to send it. That would probably be the easiest way to do that. Or you can just send it right on top there. It says onboarding, so our team will get it that way too.
I have one more question.
Yep.
When you send the emails out and the texts out, could you please make it more recognizable that it's not phishing? Because when they come, our IT people are going, are you sure? And I did the same thing myself. I deleted them because it says you get a survey, and I get surveys from everybody.
Yeah.
Right? And they're using surveys as phishing tools. So is there a way that you can put that, change the language on the email and change that, in some way to make it more recognizable?
Sure, yeah, and if
Text and email would be really helpful.
if anybody has recommendations, we're open to it. We have other clients that have changed that. Some clients make it come from their own email so that they see it's from work and things like that. So we've got some flexibility there.
Very good, thank you.
Yep.
Maybe just earn $100.
Yeah, I look for the purpose of this grant, that's probably a great way to do it.
I will tell them not to do it.
Those surveys
Because
come
Russia sends that same one out.
Is the email address every time, so we could whitelist that or something?
Absolutely, yep. Yeah, and that's why we used to have it come from your own, we were spoofing it, and you can whitelist it, but when you spoof it, it still gets caught. So we really encourage you not to do that anymore. We were having just hellacious problems with that. But other than that, we can make it say whatever you want. Anything else? Okay. If you could just come on up real quick and turn these into me, then that would be great.
I'm going to say a couple things, John.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. All right. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to touch a little bit about what Leading Age is going to do with this grant. We've heard a lot about what We Care Connect is going to do. But myself and a new hire who will be starting September 1 will be helping you out as contacts, kind of intermediaries at Leading Age. So you won't be alone on that, and we'll have someone full-time dedicated to answering questions, helping out on that aspect, any kind of HR issues. As Dave said, we're working with a communications team. We're going to be having pieces to help boost survey, kind of people taking the survey, people be willing to take those, and continuing to boost engagement with that product. So we're really excited about the opportunity. We're also looking to embed this into everything we do. So we're looking at having the Leadership Academy that we're starting up work on some of this data and come up with innovative and creative projects that may be able to help support retention and recruitment. And then we're also going to be having our annual conference themed to workforce and developing a track and some education there to actually looking at this data and looking at innovative programs that some people are doing with it. And also interpreting that data. We realize seeing the data is great, but then figuring out a way to operationalize that can be challenging sometimes, as we've heard through several presentations at this. So I'm really excited about the opportunity. Thank you, John.